Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman, and I'm out here camping a little bit. This weekend I just started vacation, and my wife was kind enough to go to New Jersey and help fill in for me. It's her mother who we're taking care of, along with the siblings, and so since it was the start of my vacation, she decided to give me a couple days off, and I'm going to be heading down there Monday to help her out with things. So it's kind of strange dealing with all this. As I said before in my last video, it's very exhausting, and I can't imagine what the individual's going through. You know, you're losing control of your life, you're losing control of your body, and when we were cleaning, we came across a letter that she wrote to somebody about all of that, and how maybe in the next 10 years she wouldn't even be able to write. And also cleaning and getting ready for her in-home care evaluation, came across a huge folder of Parkinson's, so she was pretty well read on what was happening to her. And I think I would probably do the same. So I guess that what I learned through all this, I learned quite a bit. I learned that what I thought was most important in life probably isn't. And I also learned that very thing could be me someday. And also thinking about Job and biblical Job and all the things that he went through when nature and enemies took everything he had. His friends showed up, and I think that what made his friends scoundrels that I never even thought of before, and that I just realized when helping my mother-in-law. They were scoundrels in that they sat there and philosophized with him, and they didn't do anything. They were scoundrels in that they arrived too late. So instead of picking up Job off the ash pile, maybe giving him some money, cooking him some dinner, and being there with him and doing some of the things that he could no longer do because of his grief, they could have eased his pain a little bit. But instead they had to delve into these big, long, philosophical questions and statements rather than pulling him off that ash pile. And I think that many times that's where belief systems and religions go wrong. It's because there's so many people sitting in ash piles, and then somebody shows up to comfort them, but it's all words, and a lot of times it's not action. And I think that caring for somebody else, they have to put so much trust in you. You're almost demanded to be to do the right thing. And that whole experience was something very different for me. Because it's my mother-in-law, you know, it's not any relation. Not that I should care any less, but it's fascinating how some people participate more, some people aren't capable mentally or physically of participating in the care. And a lot of the emotions that come about, a lot of things you have to turn the other cheek. I was talking about this to my own mother, and she's a very devout Christian, and I think that turning the other cheek could also mean when you're dealing with Alzheimer's and doing things for people that they right then cannot see that it's helpful because of their mental state, uh, may chastise you, call you names, um, or refuse to do what you've asked, um, just because they're not mentally able to. And you have to turn the other cheek. And I think caregivers turn the other cheek a lot of times. And I think that if you took the Beatitudes and a lot of the teachings of Christ, now I'm going to sound Christian, um, they could be directed at caregivers, and caregivers can identify so much with that. You know, he could have been talking about the older people, you know, and the sick, and the people who didn't have anybody to rely on. And I just find that fascinating. So hopefully in this life, I'll get to enjoy it as long as I'm lucky to. And I hope that I take the atrocities with grace and run towards my fate. I always said I wouldn't use hair dye for men. And maybe like Hector charging Achilles, run towards my fate, whatever that is. And maybe even with the girl with cancer, do something more than sit around and philosophize. I think maybe I've done too much of that in my life rather than getting out there and actually doing. And it's good to think, keeps the mind sharp, but if somebody's starving to death or needs your help and you're unable to see that, you're lacking something. So I don't know, friends, this whole experience has been very grueling, tiring, and I'm glad I got a few days to camp. And we're still trying to get all the financial stuff figured out, because when you're giving up control and you have to trust other people, it's really hard to do sometimes. So we've been using her account to pay the bills and things like that. And apparently she made a pay by phone because she remembered that a card was due, and she did it herself. And she gave the wrong account number, so the account was flagged, but we already paid it, so now we have to work that out. But just little things like that, like, I understand how hard it must be. So we're going to be doing that continually, try to help out the best that we can, and it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. The speech, the swallowing, the balance is only going to get worse. And I know very little about Parkinson's, so I'll probably have to read a book on it or two, because I want to become educated about what's happening. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll take you guys along. Hopefully I won't get too personal to where people will be offended by it, but I think it'll be okay. So today they had a evaluation for in-home aide to come live with her, and we'll see how that goes for a while. We're still going to be visiting as much as we can, but she lives about 3 hours away, and we've been going down there on all of our days off. And definitely the relationship between me and my wife is a little bit strained, because things get frustrating. You know, we have to take care of ourselves in our own place, and then help her. So we're working our way through that. We're figuring out ways of dealing with it, and it makes free time and time with your loved ones that much more enjoyable, and you appreciate it a lot more too. So if any of you have articles or anything on Parkinson's, PM them to me. You know, it would be helpful, because if I knew Parkinson's like I knew religion and stuff like that, it'd be much easier. But I kind of want to know the stages and what's happening, so we can better deal with the situation and make my mother-in-law's life a little more comfortable. And we don't want to be in denial about what's happening at all. We already went through that stage, and I believe the family went through that stage, and I think we lost a lot of time in the denial stage, and then abruptly we were thrown into the realization that it was here and it's only going to get worse. So take care, friends, and remember, if everybody's thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking.